Greetings everyone. Today we're going to do an exploration of a rock. So before we get started, make sure that you have some kind of rock. It doesn't matter the size. It can be tiny, small like a pebble, or a little bit bigger, or fit in your hand, maybe a little bit bigger but not too big. So go ahead and get one if you don't have one right now. You can also do like a shell or something small, even like a small little pine cone or an acorn, anything like that. So we recently read the book, The Other Way to Listen. And in that book, the author or the narrator of the story talks about listening to any object or anything, even an animal, in a way that's respectful, that you don't think that you're better than that thing, whatever it is, even if it's a rock, that you can learn from anything. And so you have to do it with a very curious and open mind, and spend time with it. So we're going to take our rock and we're going to use our five senses. We're not going to use our sense of taste because I don't think tasting a rock would be nice. But I guess if your adult, washed it and let you do it, then that would be okay. But your adult has to say it's okay. So the first thing we're going to do is just close our eyes and just feel the rock. And then just get some describing words. What does your rock feel like? So I'll tell you that mine is very cold, very hard. It's flat. It feels like dull edges. They're not sharp at all. Almost like a triangular shape. Not a sharp triangle, but just more like wider at some points and more narrow in other places. It feels like it has a little bit of like layers. So it's not just all even, but different layers. And here's one I've noticed that you can maybe snag like something if you were to go across that. All right, before I open my eyes, I'm going to listen to my rock. So one way to do this, you're saying, how could you listen to a rock? There are different ways. First, put it up to your ear and just rub it with your thumb. And notice the sound. Hard to describe that sound. Almost like a chalky sound. Rough, maybe. And then you can like throw it in the air a little bit. It's like a clapping sound. All right, so before I open my eyes, I'm gonna smell it. Does it smell like anything? It definitely has a smell, but it's hard to describe. It reminds me of a dog smell, and I don't have a dog in my house. That's interesting. All right, now we're going to use our vision. We're going to look at the rock really carefully. So, wow, this is interesting. If you had asked me what color the rock is, I would just say brown. But when I look at it, it has different shades of brown and different layers. So there's like the bottom layer and then something on top, different layers, and there are different kind of patterns or shapes on it. And I noticed some like different shades of brown, almost dark gray, and then some little holes, maybe some white and black speckles. It's very interesting. It looks like someone put their thumbprint in it. It doesn't have the fingerprint in it, but it's just like a dent. And it is sort of a triangular shape. So what about your rock? What colors, what textures, what patterns or shapes do you notice in your rock? And I'm realizing that one side is brown and the other side is more gray. That's interesting. So take some time with your rock. All right, so any noticings? Now that you have looked at your rock, what can you learn from your rock? What do you notice, and then what is the lesson? So what's interesting is that one side is brown and the other side is more gray. So the lesson for me there is don't make assumptions. Just because you see one side and you think that means something, you don't know, because the other side could be totally different. Maybe someone on the outside appears a certain way, but then when you go inside, you get to know the person. It's totally different. Or even like a thing, like a book or a house or any object, you might think you know because you see one thing and you make an assumption, but it's really different. Another thing that I noticed is there's more to it, right? I was saying that this rock is just brown. There's more to it. This rock has different shades of brown. It has little black speckles. It has little white speckles. So there's more to it always, similar to my first lesson, but there's always more, even though you don't realize that. The rock is really beautiful. Now that I've really spent time with it, I'm realizing how beautiful the rock is. I never would have said that a rock was beautiful. So a lesson might be that there's beauty everywhere. When I did this activity with students, one of the students said they realized that their ancestors used rocks, or maybe this rock. This rock has a history. It may have been part of a mountain at one point. And so this rock has a history, and our ancestors used the rock. This is what the student said, that I realized that the ancestors used the rock. They used them for tools, for weapons, right? For cooking, for different things. And this rock has a story, like everybody does. And also, if my ancestors hadn't been able to use this rock or the other rocks, I wouldn't be here today, right? If they didn't have it for cooking or for a weapon or for a tool, then I may not have been here today because maybe they wouldn't have survived. So there are many lessons from the rock. What I would say is notice what you observe, notice what you're seeing, say that out loud, and then think about what's the lesson behind that. All right, I hope you enjoyed our rock exploration. You can do this anytime. You can do it with a new rock, a shell, whatever, or you can do it with the same rock. Maybe you'll learn new things. All right, thank you for joining me today.